Hello and welcome to another edition of Agenda 2063 TV show. My name is E.K. Benson Jr. This is the only show in Ghana, the region, the continent, telling you authentic stories about Africa's integration. And even though we spend the better part of the series occasionally talking issues around the African Continental Free Trade Area, we always come back to the issue of Agenda 2063, which we believe is a very important and critical part of Africa's integration and development. We're going to come up with two segments, very, very brief today, and then after that we'll delve into the meat of the show. We'll take a break, we'll be right back. Welcome back from the break and welcome to APRM Watch. This is a space where we give you updates on developments around the Africa Peer Review Mechanism. Now, it's important for you to, first of all, know where Africa Peer Review Mechanism is based. It is based in South Africa. The Continental Secretariat is based in South Africa, Midrand. It is an AU agency that helps member states understand what governance is about. Although we do governance, we do elections and all these things, it is not enough. We need an AU agency to tell us that whilst you are doing elections, it's also important to pay attention to your governance, internal and otherwise. Why is that important? Because we don't always need consultants. We don't always need the donors to come and tell us how well to do our governance. We can assess our own governance ourselves. So when we say that 38 member states have acceded to the Africa Peer Review Mechanism, what we're trying to say is that 38 member states have agreed to do a self-assessment of each other member state. So Ghana has agreed to do a self-assessment of Nigeria, of Kenya, of Rwanda, of Liberia on certain parameters, health, gender, any other parameters that may be deemed important. The role of the Africa Peer Review Mechanism, the Secretariat, is to send their officers down to these countries to say, look, these are the parameters that you have brought. Last 5 years, you were doing well in the area of health. You have regressed, so please pick it up. On gender issues, there are more women empowerment, so you have improved, so well done. That's the kind of assessment that the Africa Peer Review Mechanism does. And so what we try to do in this show is to let people know that it is an important part of Africa's integration. It's an important AU agency to follow. It's an important agency helping promote Africa's integration. Because one of the other things that it does have, which a lot of people don't always know, and which I think we've only referred to once on this APRM Watch, is the fact that they have something called the State-Owned Enterprises Network, which they based on the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. APRM is the only AU agency working on the State-Owned Enterprises Network. The idea is that member states of the AU that have come together as a network and to do trading across member states. But what they do trading, the idea is to do it with ethics and with some level of governance, good governance. Because what is the point of doing governance without doing it well and doing it with ethics? So the APRM is the only AU agency mandated to help regulate and manage the State-Owned Enterprises Network, so that we get to the point where all AU member states are doing business across territories, but doing it in the principle of good governance and in an ethical way, so that no one will be cheated when they're in country A or country Y, and there is some level of ethics underpinning that governance. The APRM also looks at corporate governance, making sure that member states are abiding by certain standard principles of corporate governance. And that is one thing that the APRM is doing very well, as it believes it ties very well into the peace and security of any nation. That if companies are doing well and they're abiding by principles that are accepted internationally, of course the country is going to flourish. Of course the economy is going to flourish. And of course there will be peace and security. So that is the brief of the APRM. Today we're going to take a very quick break, then we'll get straight into the ER in East Africa. We'll be right back. So welcome back from the break, and ER in East Africa is the segment where we give you updates on developments around the East African region. There's always something very interesting happening around East Africa, and we're always very happy to be reporting to you so that you get a very sharp insight onto developments in that part of the region. Now, just giving you some quick updates on Twitter, on the Twitter feed. All Africa is reporting that Somalia Prime Minister is going to help trace military recruits that are said to be missing. And All Africa is also reporting that Kenya has moved to implement the trade deal with the EU as neighbors are lagging. So Kenya has always been kind of the big brother in that region and wants to sign a free trade area or a deal with the European Union for their flowers, because Kenya is known to do flowers and a whole lot of other things, exporting flowers. They don't want to lose that market as other markets like the AFCFTA have come about and so on. It'll be good revenue for them. So they are still continuing with that, whereas other member states are reluctant to sign a deal with the EU. Still on All Africa, Burundi has reopened the border with Tanzania and has suspended mandatory quarantine. We're not quite sure what that will mean for public health developments in that country if they're suspending mandatory quarantine, but we can only pray for them for now, especially with increasing cases of COVID-19 in that region. Although it is reported that Uganda's cases are falling, each region still has some work to do as far as making sure that the rate of COVID-19, patients, those who are getting the pandemic or who are affected by it, continue to fall. So we keep our fingers crossed on that. Tanzania claims that it doesn't owe a single cent to the East Africa community. Now, why is this a big story? It's not that it's a big story, it's just that the East Africa community, like any organization, always does a budget, does a review of which member states owe it money. Just like in ECOWAS, sometimes we will say that Nigeria owes ECOWAS some money or Ghana owes ECOWAS, they have not been paying their dues and so on. It's the same with East Africa community. Each year, the East Africa community looks at which member states have paid well or have not done well on paying their dues. Tanzania was one of the countries that is cited for not paying enough, even though Tanzania hosts a number of East African community countries, agencies, including even the Secretariat itself in Arusha. But Tanzania claims that it doesn't owe a single cent to East Africa community. Let's see how that story will play out. Because at the end of the day, money is a big issue for any organization. So we hope that they'll be able to sort that one out. OECD Center is saying that in East Africa, there are certain countries that have high and low levels of discrimination against women and girls. And in the infographic, it shows that some of the countries that have high are Tanzania, which are very high. Ethiopia is very low discrimination, and Kenya is medium to high. So there's some work to do in that region on which countries have a high level of discrimination or level of discrimination in social institutions. All of these are always, it's work in progress, so you're never going to get a perfect picture, but it's good to have things like these that remind us that we need to work harder in our governance and in our development. And to end on this segment, there's going to be a rally in Kenya. It will start from the 24th and end on the 27th, and a lot of people all over the world are flocking to Kenya to see the Wrc Rally, which is going to be held from Kenya from 24th to 27th. And someone is tweeting that it's great to have the rally back in East Africa. The rally is when all these cars are racing across the country from one point to another point, driving very fast and seeing who ends where and who drives the fastest and who gets the prize. So for 3 days, a lot of cars will be going all over the country. It's good publicity and good tourism for Kenya. Some of us will be monitoring how well they do. In the picture that I'm looking at, Toyota, there's a Toyota car driving very fast past some village somewhere, but it's clearly in Kenya. So it's good tourist revenue. Maybe Ghana could consider having a rally. You never know. And finally, on East Africa, AG on Gambia has reported that Rwanda and Ghana have signed an agreement whereby Ghana will help Rwanda build its capacity on cocoa production, and Rwanda in turn will build a factory that will help with pesticides. It is part of a long-standing agreement between Rwanda and Ghana, where Rwanda and Ghana, do an exchange on things that they can do together, on tourism and on a whole number of other sectors. But this is a very interesting development, and it's for us. What it says is that African countries, are talking to each other, and Rwanda, that has been cited for doing very well on cleanliness and so on and so forth, will be a country that we can be influenced by positively. So we hope to see more Rwandans in Ghana, and more Rwandan community taking advantage of Ghana, its tourism, and also encouraging more Ghanaians to go to Rwanda. So this is where we end the segment on a happy note that Ghana and Rwanda have signed an agreement which puts more concrete and puts more feet on the relationship that they have been building over many years. So that's the year in East Africa. Nice to come your way. We're going to take a very quick break, and then we'll get into the real beef of the discussion today. We'll be right back. All right, so welcome back from the break. And I'm happy to today, it's not really an editorial, it's just one man giving you an update of what you are to expect in July. There's a lot of things that are coming up in July as far as programming is concerned. 8th July is the African Integration Day. And if you may recall from last year we brought Dr. Joseph Atamensa from the UN Economic Commission for Africa in what was going to be one of the first shows after the pandemic, after the lockdown eased, and so on and so forth. And we had a very important conversation, 2 shows where we talked about Africa's integration. We looked at, we did a whole lot of, discussion over the 2 shows on how we moved from the Abuja Treaty of 1991 all the way to where we are now, the African Continental Free Trade Area, and which countries played the most important parts in that journey. Zambia, South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, and so on and so forth. Now, African Integration Day, we don't know exactly, we don't have the specifics of of how African Integration Day will happen on 8th July, but we can tell you that what we want to do is to use the month of July to have a state of Africa's integration and look at different themes. Now, here are some of the themes. We're going to look at peace and security in Central Africa, because Central Africa is not a region that we talk about a lot. You all may know that we talk a lot about, we talk occasionally about West Africa. We have to, because we are in West Africa. East Africa, already got it covered. North Africa, we don't talk about so much, but Southern Africa from time to time, but Central Africa, not so much. We have access to the AU ambassador, special representative, ambassador to the DRC, who works there. And so hopefully she'll be able to offer us, when she's available, a very good insight into developments in Central Africa, how it's faring. Because Central Africa has not been a region that has been, can be known for good governance or can be known for stability. There's always something going on. Before the pandemic, there were always these issues around wars and insecurity and so on and so forth. So now that AfCFTA is here, we want to find out what is the true state of Central Africa. Are they still talking about peace and security, insecurity and stuff, or are they talking about developmental issues such as the African Continental Free Trade Area and all these other things? So we'll be speaking to Ambassador Michel India, hopefully, for that, who will help unpack developments in that region. Then we'll also be talking, then we'll have a conversation about, the conversation will be about Africa's fashion. In Ghana, we know that, for example, there are so many people who own fashion outlets, who are doing great stuff, selling their outfits, getting batik, doing some fantastic things. And this is only Ghana. We also know that it's happening in many other African countries. So what we want to do with the show is to say, look, state of Africa's integration with a focus on Africa's fashion. What is it that we need to strategically do very quickly as a continent, as a region, to make sure that the fashion industry puts money in people's pockets? What is it that needs to be, what value chain needs to be developed so that each year we're making billions into trillions of USD into Africa's economy? Ideally, the African fashion industry is a $1 trillion enterprise, ideally. Right now, the real value we understand is that probably it is billions that is being made from the African fashion industry. And especially when you look at the fact that now we have industries like Nollywood, which are doing very well with their film industry, and therefore are getting more people to sew African print to be used in their films. You will understand why it's going to be a multi-million-dollar business and why it needs to be encouraged. And you can therefore talk about even the link between that and the creative industry. Why, therefore, if you do your creative arts well, you can get musicians and singers and artists wearing African print. And therefore, where are they going to get their African print from? It's going to be made by ordinary people who will make money from selling it to these people and scale it up, maybe to sell it to other regions, maybe to Nigeria, export it to other African countries. So there's a whole value chain that needs to be unpacked for conversation. Just the idea of African print, one idea, one style, how can it be used for an artist in Ghana, in Nigeria, in East Africa, in Southern Africa, and what are the export conditions or possibilities that can come with it? We'll be speaking to one lady who owns a fashion industry in Ethiopia. I believe she's West African, but she's managed to make that entry into Ethiopia and is doing very well there. And who will also give us deep insights into what she was able to do to break into another market, considering where she's from, and make good money from it. And what lessons there are therefore for creative industry across the continent and all over on how to make good money from the African fashion industry. Then we'll be talking about, we'll be having an interview with the key person at a conference, upcoming conference in October in Rwanda called Wrc. He will help tell us why that Wrc is important. It's an important conference jointly organized by After Policy Network and PKD World Law Firm, which is based in Abidjan with international offices across the continent and the world. And the idea is that they want to have a conference where they're showcasing how SMEs and private sector can position themselves for the African Continental Free Trade Area. Now, this conference will take place in October, so we'll be speaking to the lead person to tell us a lot more about the conference, the complete agenda, why it's important for SMEs to attend, why the private sector, African private sector needs to pay attention, and what benefits they'll be getting from it. So we're very excited to have that scheduled. And then we'll be talking also about the blue economy. The blue economy is a $1 trillion economy, and some countries are doing it better than others. Although Ghana has the Gulf of Guinea that flows into the Atlantic Ocean, we are not paying so much attention to the blue economy as we should do, even though we have things like the Regional Maritime University based not far from here, Teshi, where it was supposed to be a regional institution, but Cameroon, Gambia, Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, those countries it was supposed to serve those countries. Nigeria is interestingly missing, but Cameroon is there. That institution has been training a lot of its students on maritime security and everything to do with the blue economy. And there are also some related blue economy institutions in Ghana, but there are countries that do it very well. Kenya does it very well. Seychelles does it very well. Nigeria has not really gotten the idea of blue economy very well so far, but we do know that as far as the African Continental Free Trade Area is concerned, Nigeria wants to focus a lot more on the blue economy, improve its shipping, improve how it will use water, fisheries, and all these other things to make good money for the country. So we'll be talking to a blue economy expert from Kenya who will help us understand why the blue economy is a conversation that we need to have about how Africa can make good money for itself. So fashion, peace and security, blue economy, and then also the role of SMEs. We'll be doing, and then we'll be introducing a new segment in July that is very brief, where we will help people understand why a country like Mozambique is important to celebrate, not just for its tourism, but for the fact that it's a Portuguese-speaking African country that is making strides in the private sector in southeastern Africa. Mozambique is in the Southern African Development Community, SADC, and it has immense potential from what we have seen from the videos. There's even a SADC business forum underway this week, where that is being held in Mozambique. And when you look at the agenda, you can see that Mozambique's ideas on private sector is huge. About a few weeks ago, we spoke to one Mr. Gudo, who is a key businessman, one of the leading foremost businessmen in Mozambique, who is doing very, very good things, encouraging private sector developments in Mozambique. But Mozambique is also a small country that has had a lot of issues to do with terrorism. When you Google Mozambique right now, you'll probably see a lot of things about not about Boko Haram, but about Islamic insurgency and so on, even though it's only in a small part of the country. We want to help break that bad narrative by saying that Mozambique is a beautiful country. Mozambique has a lot to offer the world. Mozambique has even come to Ghana before to learn from us on how aspects of our ports and shipping and so on. And it's a country that we must embrace, even though there are language barriers and challenges with them speaking Portuguese and us speaking English as our language, main official language. But there's definitely opportunities between Ghana and Mozambique that can be unpacked, especially in an area where African Continental Free Trade Area is concerned. So we'll be having a segment where we look at what Mozambique is doing around its tourism, what can be done better, and how people from the west of Africa and other parts of Africa, we will encourage them to go visit Mozambique and see that when we hear the news stories about insurgency and terrorism, you just need to swallow that and go and visit the country and see for yourself. I have a friend who has been on this show before who had to go to Mali for a meeting last 2 weeks. She came back to say that she was embarrassed by the stories. She was embarrassed to say that she had been consumed by stories that because Mali had been in a coup, there was nothing good going on in Mali. She sent pictures of people in shopping malls having fun in Mali, clean streets, women on motorbikes, clean streets. Kwame Nkrumah's statue that is in Mali, there's a square in Mali where Kwame Nkrumah's statue is there. People just milling around peacefully. And yet if you hear the news, you would think that Mali, everyone is fighting, they're in crisis because ECOWAS has suspended them. When she showed us pictures of the airport is neat. The airport is clean. It's orderly. And yet you would think that there's chaos in that country. So what this tells you is that when you hear stories of conflict and you take it, you read about it as you can, but if we really want to get the Agenda 2063 that we want, the Africa we want, we need to also make the effort to dispel the myths that is fed to us by the media, both African and otherwise. This story about Mali that our friend who has been on this show before broke to us just reminded us that conflict does not mean that the whole country is in turmoil. Yes, it's not a good thing for it to happen, but when it does happen, it does not mean it's across the whole country. So let's be mindful when we think of of the Africa. We're trying to build the Africa we want. And we cannot do that when we take in everything, hook, line, and sinker, that the media feeds us. And let's be mindful that we need to create our own stories, positive stories of the Africa we want. So we want to do that with Mozambique and let the world know that Mozambique is a beautiful place to go to. I have not yet been there, but from the videos, you can almost feel that you are there. And you realize that this is a country doing well. Yes, it's small, but it's also doing very well with the blue economy. And there are things that we can learn from them on how they are managing their fishery sector and the rest of their blue economy, which would be good for us. So these are some of the things that we want to do on the show going forward, so that people realize that even as we talk Agenda 2063, we're also talking about positive narratives, positive stories that we need to share to the world, that Agenda 2063 is the Africa we want, and we can get it by stressing positive stories about the continent. We accept that there are challenges, there are faults, corruption, bad governance, and all these things, but it does not foreclose the fact that Africa is still a beautiful continent that we need to build and make it a paradise for our children and our grandchildren. So, ladies and gentlemen, for all those who have taken time out today to listen to me, thank you. My name is DK Benson Jr. I hope to be able to give you a nice month full of interesting insights of the month, coming month in July. And we hope that you look forward to very exciting programs. We are definitely excited to be bringing you those interviews, and we'll ensure that they are some of the best interviews you've had so far. So thank you once again to the production crew, to all those who have made this show technically possible, and we hope to be coming your way next time at @_AAU67 on Twitter. AAU TV is also on YouTube. 16.7 thousand followers, and it's also on Facebook. You just Google Association of African Universities. My name is DK Benson Jr., host of Agenda 2063 TV show. Happy to be coming your way. We'll see you next time for a great show, and prepare yourself for a great month up ahead in July. Save that date of July and pick up that copy of Agenda 2063 and read and familiarize yourself with the 7 aspirations. Thank you. Hope to speak to you next time. Have a great day. Goodbye.